this phone call today, or can I do it next week? I could do it next week. And you realize we add fake urgency to things. And I have a friend who's kind of amazing. He's way busier than me. And he says, I don't want to spend time with anybody. Like I saw it was really funny. He came out of a meeting and he had a meeting with a very fancy person who's courting him for business, right? Or he should be courting the other guy, actually. Very fancy person. And he comes out of the meeting. I'm like, how was it? He's like, total waste of time. I'm like, you don't want to do business? He doesn't want to work with you? I was like, no, he wants to work with me. He wants to work with me badly. Total waste of time. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, he's just some rich asshole. Like, I learned nothing. I didn't enjoy it. And I don't want to work with him. And I was like, tell me more. He's like, I only want to work with people who, when I spend time with them, they teach me something, I laugh, or I feel inspired when I walk away. And if somebody sucks my energy, I do not want to work with them. And I was like, that's amazing to have that level of confidence that you would turn down money in your business. And now what if we applied that to as much as possible in our lives? Like, what if we stopped hanging out with friends who just sucked our energy? Are they really friends? Rather than spend more time with people who we enjoy. What if we take meetings from people we're excited to take a meeting with, not that we just see dollar signs and opportunity? And what if we only partner with companies where we really like the people who work at those companies? You don't have to have a relationship with the CEO, but they've got a good culture. I really like working with them. And we make a little less money with them versus that other company. But I really like them because when things go wrong, I want to call that person. And people ask me this all the time. They say, how do I choose a publisher? And I've seen this mistake 1,000 times. I've seen people like former CEOs who are like, I now am going to write my book. I'm like, great, you've got a lot to say. And they've got multiple offers and there's a bidding war. And they always ask me, which one should I go with? Which publisher should I go with? And I always say the same thing. Choose the one you're going to fight with best. Choose the publisher you're going to fight with best. They're like, what? I'm like, the goal is to make a good book. There's going to be creative tension. There's going to be fights. Choose the publisher who believes in your idea, believes in you, wants to make a great book, who you're going to fight with really well. Every single one of them ignores me. Every single one of me takes the biggest bid, and every single one of them has written a shitty book that didn't sell.
Isn't that just relationship advice as well, though?
Probably, yeah. Choose the person you're going to fight with best. And the number of times that we forget about the quality of the product and we just want It's the same for job interviews. You know, this is especially true for young people. Like when you're interviewing in a relatively junior job, entry level or slightly above, don't worry about how much they're going to pay you. Like just as long as they pay you a livable wage, you know, choose the job based on who you're going to work for. Choose the person. I used to, early on in my career, people, HR people would say, what are you looking for? I'd always say the same thing. I said, the thing that I'm looking for is probably like looking for love, but I'm looking for a mentor. And every time I'd evaluate a job, I didn't care how glamorous the brand was. I didn't care how much money they were going to pay me. And by the way, it's not like I had money. I knew they were going to pay me something. I knew I could pay my bills. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm not a trust fund baby. Like I needed an income. Mm-hmm. But one company offered me, $5,000 more, and one company offered me $5,000 less. But I really liked the person over here. I took that job, and it was if I got one thing right as a young person, it's that I always chose jobs based on who I would work for, not how much they were going to pay me or what account or what brand I was going to work on. And that's the one thing I got right. Because yes, I made less money than all my friends in the short term, but I got an education and a care and a love from somebody who took me under their wing. I learned leadership from Dennis Glennon. I learned leadership from Peter Intomaggio. I learned leadership from Pamela Moffat. I learned leadership from these leaders who took a weird liking to me and took me under their wing. And they were exceptionally good leaders themselves. And I got that education. And all of them in the early days paid me less than I could have got somewhere else. And it's the same. Choose the people.
In my book that I wrote, the first chapter in it talks about this idea of these 5 buckets. And I'm trying to give young kids advice on how to prioritize their career, and it sounds somewhat similar to you. So I'm going to throw this concept at you and see see how it lands with you. So the idea was that we all have these 5 buckets when we're starting our career. And the first bucket is your knowledge. The second bucket is your skills. Now, these are the only buckets that no professional earthquake in your career can unfill.
Right.
You can be fired, you can be cancelled, whatever. You still have your knowledge and skills. But the other 3 buckets I'm about to name, they can fluctuate. Bucket number 3 is your network, can fluctuate. Bucket number 4 is your resources, can fluctuate. And bucket number 5 is your reputation, can fluctuate. And the idea is that focusing on those first 2 buckets when you're young, choosing jobs based on how much they're going to fill those 2 buckets and also what they're going to fill them with and how relevant that information is. And when knowledge is applied, it becomes a skill. So you focus on filling your knowledge, you apply that knowledge into skills, and that really is the essence of career longevity. And as I noticed over time with people that I hired and then watched them throughout their careers and what they did, it seems to me that life over the long term typically brings you back down or up to the level of your knowledge and skills. I.e., I had this one kid step down from my company because he got a job offer at 21 to go be a CEO in America. And as he departs, I'm thinking, he has not got the knowledge and skills to be a CEO. Within 24 months, the company had gone bust. He was back down to doing the same job he did for me. And I thought, life just like resets you to the level of your knowledge and skills over time. So what do you think of this? Are these
I think we're saying the exact same thing. You did it more eloquently than me. You know, I think it's 100% right. And the people who will fill that bucket with knowledge and skills are the people who, again, for some reason, they're good people, they're good leaders, they take a liking to you, and they will put you in situations and they will let you screw up and fix your own problems, fix your own mistakes. Then that's what my bosses did for me. They rewarded my behavior when I got it right, as opposed to my results. Never got rewarded for my results. I always got rewarded for my behavior. So if I showed initiative, I got a reward even if the results didn't follow, right? And I can tell you a great story on that. And if I got things wrong, they would say, wow, what are you going to do? Really screwed that one up, didn't you? Okay, what are you going to do? And they weren't happy with me, but they let me fix my own messes and they stood by and I knew that they were there if I needed them. You know, Peter Intomaggio, one of the best leaders I ever worked for, annoyingly, he never answered a single question I asked. Hey, Peter, what should I do? I don't know. What do you think we should do? Well, I think we should do this. I'm like, okay, so go do that. You know, what do you think? Peter, I'm asking you because I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. He's like, ooh, well, you should probably go think about that. And it was the worst. But what he taught me was self-reliance. What he taught me was self-reliance. What he taught me was, if I don't know, then I have to go keep searching and keep talking to people. I have to have a point of view. And it might not be right. And I'll find that out myself too. And I also learned to have backup plans from him because something went haywire on me. And it went so wrong, it ended up being okay, but he made me sweat it. And remember, at the end of the day, at the end of this whole thing that went wrong, that was totally my fault. The phone rings, it was 6 p.m. The phone rings, I see his name come up on the caller ID, and I pick up the phone. I remember the whole call word for word, right? I pick up the phone, I go, hello? He says, close call today. I said, yep. He said, better to get shaved by the bullet than hit by the bullet. I went, yep. He said, have a good night. I said, you too. That was the whole phone call. And so since that experience, I always have a backup plan. Now, it doesn't mean it's all ready to go, but I've thought about, if this thing that I'm trying to do doesn't work, what will I do? And I've at least committed some thought to it. So if something does go wrong, I'm a little bit ahead. Either have it planned or I'm like, okay, don't worry. If this happened, I thought about this already. And it's only because of these great leaders. And this is this recurring theme of this whole conversation, which is it's the struggle, it's the journey, not the destination. It's the human beings that guide us. It's the human beings that hold space for us, that make us better at what we do, better than how we show up in the world. And AI will absolutely make our lives easier, like most technology makes our lives easier. That's kind of the rule of technology, which is to make life a little easier, a little more efficient, a little quicker, a little less, strain on the muscles. That's kind of what it does, from the plow, all the way up to the internet and AI. It just makes life a little easier. But we're still human beings who are forced to live with human beings.
You're writing a book about friendship that we're all waiting for.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you when it's due because I don't want to be your publisher. But I know that they chase and chase and chase and chase. But I guess my closing question is why? Of all the things you could have written about Simon, you're someone who's able to traverse several subject matters across business and life and everything in between, but you've committed yourself to the struggle of writing a book about friendship.
There's an entire industry to help us be better leaders, right? There's an entire industry to help you have a successful relationship or a successful marriage or even find a partner, right? Industries, books, companies. There's very little on how to be a friend. And if you think about, if you're going to have a successful career and can survive the stresses of career, and if you're going to have a successful romantic relationship or marriage and survive that, do you know what you need in both of those circumstances? Friends. Because when your marriage is falling apart, you go to a friend. When your job is falling apart, you go to a friend. And there's a few things that I've discovered about friends that I find delightful. And I have been reorganizing my life to, and I mentioned it before, like I've been reorganizing my life to ensure that my friends aren't taken for granted, and that sometimes I do deprioritize work in order to see my friends and spend time with my friends, because I know it feels good to them and I know it feels good to me. And I know that the only reason I can get through any work stress or personal stress I have is because of those magical human beings, and I will not take them for granted. And doesn't mean it's always easy. I'm conflicted often, but I'm trying. And I also know if you look at the world today, and like there's so much conversation about loneliness, depression, anxiety, inability to cope with stress, even the obsession with longevity. Like there's so much about these subjects. And some people treat it with drugs and then meditation and vacations and like there's so many theories. The one thing that fixes all of those things is friends. Friendship is the ultimate biohack. You know, we've talked about this before. I fundamentally believe that. And if it's so valuable, like if you know vegetables are good for you, you eat more vegetables. If you know exercise is good for you, you do more exercise. So if I say friends are good for you, shouldn't you do more friendships, right? Like exercise is not fun or easy, and you have to get over a hump sometimes. Eating vegetables can sometimes be boring and unsatisfying, but you do it or you find new ways. And so maybe friendship is not always easy or fun, but it's still really, really good for you. And the best thing about friends is it actually doesn't taste like spinach. It's like you get the benefits of spinach, but it tastes like chocolate cake. If you get friendship right, it's the healthiest thing in the world.
How do I know if someone's a friend?
Have that conversation with them.
Because I know a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, look, and you have deal friends. You know, you have a lot of deal friends. You know,
yeah. Podcast friends.
Podcast friends. Yeah.
Work friends.
You know, look, I'm not talking about. There's all kinds of friends. There's friends that you just like hanging out with. They're just fun, but you're not going to go with them with your problems or to sort out, issues. You're just not, work or personal. They're just fun, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I think, I'm certainly guilty of spending time with people that, they fill a space and they make me feel not lonely. But at the end of the day, I don't feel smarter, inspired, brighter, lighter when I say goodbye. I'm just like, all right, bye, that was fun. And I kind of want to spend more time with people who lift me, teach me, support me, love me, give me a chance to serve. They open up to me and let me serve as well,
I struggle to make friends.
And
I think.
Do you know why?
I think I'm lazy with it, lazy with friendships. So I will meet someone, I'll have a great connection with them, and then my follow-up, like I don't really know what to do next. So I'll meet
Your follow-up
someone,
is crap.
Oh, fucking hell. But this is what I mean. Like I'll meet someone.
I'll text you and maybe I'll get a response.
Vice versa. I think you left me on red. But you're the same. Are you the same, or is it just with me? It's just with me.
It's just with you.
But I think my follow-up game is like crap. I'll meet someone. I'll go. Oh my. I'll see the potential for a friendship, and then I won't know what I have. Or maybe I'm just being lazy. I want to be honest. Maybe I just don't prioritize it enough.
I think also when you start having fame and money, and you're used to being the boss, you get away with stuff. So you show up late, everybody's like pissed off and angry, and then you show up and you're like, sorry, like, no, don't worry, right? Like you get away with stuff in the world, right? And so I think what that does is, I see this with celebrities all the time, right? because everybody yeses them to death and they get away with it and nobody ever holds them accountable. At some point, they just get lazier and lazier and lazier because they can.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's
And
so
so
true.
they don't have to put in the effort because other people put in the effort.
Yeah.
And nobody be's like somebody who's a nobody won't say to them, yo, asshole, not respectful. Oh, you think my schedule doesn't matter? I've been waiting here for 3 hours. Oh, just because you're a celebrity, you think you can just keep me waiting? Not cool. Nobody says that to them.
Yeah.
And somebody should say that to them. But
They should say it to themselves.
they should say it to themselves. That would be ideal. And some of them have the self-awareness to know they're getting away with it. That's even worse because then they're doing it on purpose. At least blindness, I think, they can at least hide behind ignorance. But yeah, I mean, friendship takes effort.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of people listening now, I know, that understand. I think they'll resonate with what I'm saying, which is I'll meet someone, I'll be like, we could be really good friends. I see so much in us. I love what you stand for. We have so much in common. And then it drifts because neither party have the tools or the skill of like what to do then.
We also live in a strange world where I've met people where I have all of that and I follow up like immediately. I'm like, hey, I had such a good time. Let's make a plan. And they're like, what? Huh? What? Or I call as opposed to like texting. And people are like, what? Why are you calling me? Like, well, we had a nice time. I thought we'd maybe talk, And I think we live in this strange world where people put it out there, but they don't really want it.
Looping us right back to the beginning of this conversation, as you said that about the call, that made me think again about how there's going to become a premium on human. Because calling is so archaic to me that when someone does it, it's like a treat now. And I was thinking, what's taking that even further would be writing someone a letter. If someone, do you know who wrote me a letter? Evan from Snapchat came on the podcast, the founder and CEO of Snapchat. And then by the time I'd got back to London, there was a letter on my desk from Evan. And it just said, I had a great conversation with you. Thank you for being so thoughtful with the questions. Thank you for the research. Here's my number. Would love to stay in touch.
Yeah.
And it blew me away.
AI wrote that.